Canadian Real Estate Association has just released their newest stats package, and they've titled it the Canadian Real Estate Association Gaining Momentum. You know what that means for home prices, right?
Liftoff. We have liftoff.
Hey there, and welcome back to Prairie Real Estate. My name is 𝗳𝗶𝗍𝗄. I'm a real estate agent in Regina, Saskatchewan, and that is my trusted assistant, 𝗳𝗲𝗿𝗁. Hard on the job as always. So I want to do a dive into this data from the Canadian Real Estate Association and see exactly what is going on, what are they trying to hide, and how much of it is actually true. But of course, let's start this off with another one of my terrible bad dad jokes. Did you ever hear about the guy that invented the knock knock joke? He won a Nobel Prize for it. If you have a terrible joke I can use in the future, put it in the comments below. Let's dig into the data here. Okay, I'm going to give you the quick highlights here, and then we're going to dive into the stats. So nationally, sales up 0.9% month over month, down 4.3% year over year. Write that down. That's important. Listings down 1.4% month over month. The home price index was up 0.2% month over month, down 3% year over year. And the average price, well, that is down 1.1%. So, gaining momentum, pretty much all negative there. Let's dive into it. So sales were up month over month, but down year over year. Here's how the Canadian Real Estate Association's chief economist explains that.
In October, we were down year over year. And that's really a story about last year, that the market really blasted off in October. And I think the reason is that last October, rates had come down, but we weren't in a trade war yet. And now we are. And so that ongoing economic uncertainty is going to temper things going forward, but I do think it's going to continue to rise into next year.
Right, so everything's relative, is what you're saying. So seems the message for the past few months.
Actually, there is a fair amount of truth to that, because we did see a fairly sizable increase in home sales in October last year. Taking a look here at the chart, you can see we saw a bunch of cities that saw fairly noticeable jumps in sales. Now, would I call this...
The market really blasted off in October.
No, I wouldn't. Is it a noticeable increase? Yeah, absolutely is. Now, the Canadian Real Estate Association has been bragging for a number of months now that sales are up month over month. And now they're saying 6 of the last 7 months, sales were up month over month. You know what, though? They should be up month over month. Let me explain. Guess what happens pretty much all the time in March, April, May, June, July? Sales increase month over month because it's the spring market. If they weren't increasing, that would be a very big cause for concern. And then August to September, not uncommon to see a fall off in sales. And then September to October, not that uncommon to see an increase in sales. Now, if we see an increase in sales October to November, that's going to be out of the ordinary and something to note. An interesting thing to note here, looking at their charts, is the sales in the third quarter, which we've just finished. 2022 was the low point recently for Q3 home sales. No surprises there. But if you look at 2023, 2024, and now 2025, you see an increase every single time in those Q3 sales. And yes, I know that we're talking about essentially the worst 3 years for Q3 sales, but they are increasing, and they're increasing consecutively year after year. In terms of new listings, that saw a 1.4% decrease in new listings. It was an increase year over year. So we have a decrease in new listings, increase in sales. What do you think happened with the market? Well, it tightened up just a tiny little bit. The sales to new listing ratio increased to 52.5. The higher the number, the tighter the market is. That is the highest it has been all year long for that particular metric. It is also very close to the long-term average, which is 54.9. In terms of active inventory, of course, that's what everyone wants to talk about. They're saying there was no shortage of homes. Look at all the homes for sale. Well, at 189,000 active listings, that's up 7.2% year over year, and basically in line with the long-term average in Canada. So yes, compared to recent history, far more active inventory than you're probably used to seeing on the market. When it comes to the long-term trends, this is about average. Now, in Toronto, that's a different story. They've got 10 consecutive months with the highest levels of active inventory. I talked about that in my monthly Canadian real estate market update video. you should check that one out. I'll put a link to that in the description below. Now, before I get into talking about market balance, I need you to do me a favor. If you like this video, please give this video a like. And if you love keeping up to date on the Canadian real estate market, hit that subscribe button. You know, it's right there. Just go ahead and click it. Thanks. The next time I do this video, I'm hoping to do an even deeper dive into the stats because I'm slowly building out the same type of charts that I do for my monthly Canadian real estate market update. Right now, though, months of inventory is at 4.4. That's unchanged from last month. It's up from last year's 3.9%, meaning it became more of a balanced / buyer's market than it was last year. But we're gaining momentum, right? Again, a tighter market last year this time than it is right now. We're gaining momentum, right? Right? Like, I have a Mercedes payment to make. Just kidding. I don't drive a Mercedes. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of them saying month over month price increases, or just saying home prices are increasing in Canada, market go boom, right? A price increase from September to October is exactly what you expect to happen this time of year. In fact, if you look in the last decade, only once have we not had a price increase from September to October. That was 2023. Year over year, which is how you should compare looking at price trends, well, they're down 1.1%. Gaining momentum, right? Now, here's where things get really interesting, because if you look at this provincially and break it down, year over year, the average price has actually gone up, and that includes BC. This is why when I do my monthly Canadian real estate market update, I say the national stats are basically useless for most people, and I do the individual cities and regions because those stats are probably far more important to somebody looking to buy in that region than what the national stats are. And if you want to check out my most recent monthly Canadian real estate market update videos, I'll put a link to them in the description below, and there should be a pop-up card, hopefully right here, with a playlist so you can jump directly into those. But finish this video first, then go to those. It also shows how much of an impact that Ontario has on the national stats. Again, the only province in Canada with a year-over-year price decrease, and that's dragged down the average for the entire country to a year-over-year decrease as well. So what are my thoughts on this? Is the market gaining momentum? It's gaining momentum, right? Like it is, right? Yeah, maybe, kinda, not really would be the way I'd put it. I hope. I've been saying this for a while now. Looking at the data, I think if you're trying to make the argument that we're right on the precipice of a massive crash and prices are about to fall off a cliff, I think that just isn't found in the data. Are prices ready to rebound and a massive increase in prices coming right away? I don't see that either, because of course, it's never the extreme ends of the spectrum. It's always somewhere in the middle. I've been saying this for a while now, that I think it's easier to make the argument that we'll probably have a similar 2026, again, barring unforeseen circumstances, which nobody can predict, where we see potential gradual price declines, much like we've seen this year. Just the same as there's an argument to be made that maybe there's some signs in this data that we're seeing a little bit of stabilization in the market. Let me explain real quickly what I mean by that, because you have to remember that market sentiment is often a very big driver of the market itself. Look at the data this year where we see the largest year-over-year price declines by month coincides with the spring, which is, again, when you normally expect prices to increase. That, of course, is set in the backdrop of a tariff war with the United States.
I always say tariffs is the most beautiful word to me in the dictionary.
And then through the summer, where there looked to be a little bit of an improvement in that relationship, we saw some year-over-year price increases. And now that there's been more of that cooling of relations again and bigger threats, now we're starting to see some year-over-year price declines. And the sentiment has been very negative, even with rate drops, which a lot of people have been saying that's what's going to spur on the market. I think Canadian Real Estate Association has said that like about 27 months in a row now, that rate drops will spur the market on. It's right around the corner, and it just hasn't really shown up. And you look at the broader economy, there's so much economic uncertainty right now. It's not surprising that home buyers are A, not really ready to make a purchase, and B, if they are, they're purchasing at lower, more affordable price points.